Facebook Live. Okay, that's us live. Welcome to Ben's Business Podcast, episode number 33. Today I've got a very special guest, Konadu. Is that pronounced correctly?
There we go, brilliant. Nice. I've
been practicing that all day. Cal, yourself, is a Tedx speaker, professional speaker, and I personally find the videos that you post through Instagram very inspirational, motivational, and I can see you've gathered up a good following as well. So there's a lot of other people enjoying the content you're putting out regularly on social media.
Thank you.
We connected through, it was Expert Empire's business conference down in London, which I've travelled down from Scotland to, and I met you. You're from London yourself?
Yeah, I'm from London, from South East London. I'm not too far from London Bridge, actually.
South East. Okay, and so it wasn't as far, but yeah, I can see that you're gathering up some information from conferences and audiobooks and like myself, so that's how we ended up connecting through our personal development.
Yeah, totally.
And then we bumped into each other at that conference. So you're the co-founder of 2 to 3 degrees.
Yeah.
And your purpose is, and your calling is to kind of inspire people to come out of their comfort zone. And you do that through your personal brand with your videos that I've seen, and it's definitely working on me. It's brushing off on me. And you also go into schools with your social enterprise to inspire them and basically teach them the things that should be taught in school.
Exactly. You know, the idea that you leave school.
A personal opinion, but yeah, I think what you're teaching them is what should have been taught at school.
Totally agree. That's why we started.
Yeah, good. So, do you want to introduce yourself? I've given a wee bit about what I know about you so far, but it's probably best that you cover what you do.
Yeah, cool, brilliant, man. Thank you for the introduction, and first and foremost, thank you for inviting me onto your podcast, man. I'm really excited about kind of sharing the time with you, and I know we've been in touch with each other for about, I think, over a year now, and just talking about various different things on our Instagram DMs, on the books that we read, to the content that we're taking in, and any exciting videos that we see. So it's good to be able to collaborate and do something. But yeah, like as Ben kindly mentioned, I'm a motivational speaker, and essentially my calling is to help people step out of their comfort zone. And so I transfer the type of energy that helps people really go out and achieve the goals that they've set for themselves, but go out and actually realize their full potential. And I do that on a one-to-one basis through one-to-one coaching. I do that in groups through facilitating workshops, but also through talks at large conferences and personal development type events. And I've been doing it for a few years now. And essentially what our main thing is as people in this field and in this sector is to just to explore and to create and really innovate through the work that we do. So if your thing is creating videos, we want to explore and innovate through creating videos. If your thing is helping people get more following on social media, be as creative and explorative as you can with that. But whatever your calling is, I think everybody has a responsibility to really fulfill that and to squeeze as much out of that as possible. And we're really trying to do that through the motivational brand, but we're also really trying to do that through 2 to 3 degrees to make sure that every young person, 11 to 18-year-olds, is leaving secondary school and has the experience of, you know, being inspired by a motivational speaker, finding out what their strengths and their weaknesses are, and really building their confidence.
Yeah, well, you're basically doing everything that I'm very aligned with as well. It's something that it's a long-term goals of my own, and I'm doing it as a sort of side hustle from my business and my money generating. But I can see you're really you're being paid to do that as well as it being a social enterprise.
Yeah, we're being paid to do that, definitely. The social bit is literally just the impact that we have, but people have to pay for the service, which is key, because people pay for things that they value, and this is the most valuable thing that you're ever going to have in your life. So yeah, totally. Yeah,
that's what business should be. All businesses should be that.
Yeah, exactly. Can I just say a massive welcome to Annie and Michael, who are watching online, and Tolu as well. A few people joined us.
Ruth and Scott Lambie, yeah.
Great stuff, man.
So you've got people coming online at your end as well, yeah. And we've got a couple over on Instagram as well here. But what I wanted to ask you is that drive to set all this up.
Yeah.
Probably the first question. To set all this up, what was the driving force for you to turn up every day and make this a thing, make this your lifestyle, and make this impact that you're looking to make? What's the main driving force behind all of that? Because you'll probably have to come over a lot of hurdles, maybe even people telling you that it's not the right idea. I don't know about your history, so tell us about that and how you managed to go through all those hurdles and what the main driving force is behind to get through there.
Great, cool, man. Yeah, good first question. I think it's funny. I think Steve Jobs says something similar to, you can only really connect the dots in your life when you look backwards. And I find that quite really interesting because if I look back on my life, I was always going in the direction of a speaker, trainer, facilitator. I just didn't always know it. So, for example, when I used to play football, I wanted to be a professional footballer growing up, and I played semi-pro level. And when I was there, even when I wouldn't get a game, or even when we'd lose, I would always be the kid on the sidelines screaming and saying, "Come on, guys, we can do this!" Or we'd be on the coach's back and it's dead silent because we just got hammered, and I'll be the one encouraging people, supporting people, saying, "Come on, we can do this." And so there were different facets in my life where I could see that it was something that I was passionate about. And I think when I was about 13 years old, my football manager gave me a book that was written by Earl Nightingale, one of the godfathers of personal development. It was called The Stranger's Secret.
Oh, yeah.
It was a really small book, and essentially it was just opening my mind to personal development, and opening my mind to the idea that you actually get out what you put in life. You just have to be willing to put in the work. And so fast forward to my A-levels, and I really didn't do well. I didn't put in that work. I didn't put in that time. And I had a conversation with a friend on results day, and he called me up and he said, "How did you do?" I said, "I didn't do well." And I said, "How did you do?" He said, "Oh, I did amazing. I got exactly what I wanted." And there was just like a bit of an awkward silence on the phone until eventually he kind of piped up and said, "Okay, cool. Well, today really shows who put in that hard work." And I remember feeling really defensive, like, wow, I can't believe my friend just said that to me. And I remember I said something really cowardly, like, "Oh, no, exams are luck. I just got unlucky this time." But I knew full well that those bad results were exactly what I deserved because I hadn't put in that work. And that feeling that I had right there was the first time that I said to myself, "You know what? I have tasted what it feels like to walk around in life like a zombie, expecting things to happen without putting in the work. I'm never going to taste that again. Never again am I going to put my name to something and not have that thing have 100% effort." I'm not necessarily saying it has to be successful. What I am saying is that I have to look back at that thing and say, I have put in 100% effort. And from there, I kind of, really just doubled down on the books that I read, the people that I was around, the work that I was doing. And I found that it was something that was boding well for me in my life in the form of a first-class degree and being able to travel around the world doing work in youth projects. And so I said I wanted to be able to give this to more people. And so that started the videos, that started 2 to 3 Degrees, the social enterprise, that started the real passion and inspiration for going out there and supporting people to be able to do exactly the same in their lives.
Nice. Yeah, that's a really good. So like it was a painful moment almost that brought the original, like created the seed and made something in you to have that driving force to never have that feeling again. Because that's interesting. Sometimes we have motivation from positive and negative things, and I've got some of my drive from negative things as well as positive events. So potentially one of the parts of it has been a feeling that you had that you never wanted again.
Yeah, totally. I can 100% relate to that, and I guess what I shared about my A-levels definitely is within that bracket.
Yeah, and that you don't want others to go down that route as well, or you want to show them the way through your experience of that one moment, but many moments that when you connected the dots, you realised what the real problem was.
Exactly. I think so. There's 1 in 7 16 to 24-year-olds in the UK are at risk of things like reduced well-being, social exclusion, reduced prospects, just because they don't have the confidence, they don't have the resilience, they don't have the communication skills to go after their ambitions. And the reason why we exist is to tackle exactly that. It shouldn't be 1 in 7 young people at risk of these type of things. If anything, it should be every young person is leaving the education system inspired, well equipped, and having a strong understanding of the goals that they want to achieve in life. And personal development is a strong way to get you there. So when I'm doing talks or when I'm doing facilitating workshops, the content is around, how to deal with failure. What is networking and how do we do it properly? Who am I and what is my purpose on this planet? How do I actually articulate that? How do I actually uncover that? And how do I identify it and go after it? And so we're not waiting for people to finish school and pay, £800 for a personal development conference when they're 35 years old, or to have this rude awakening. We're giving it to an 11-year-old and saying, if you want to be an astronaut, if you want to be a scientist, if you want to be a teacher, this is what you need to do to get there. And so, yeah, it's really about just, if everyone in the world is as inspired and motivated to go after their goals, the world just becomes a better place. And so everyone has that responsibility.
Yeah. What is motivation to you, Carol? I'd love to hear your definition of it.
Totally, man. I love that. I think that's a great question, and I can't say I have a Oxford Dictionary definition for what motivation is, but for me, it's a source of something that gets you to realize that you can do more regardless of what you currently feel. So a lot of the time, for example, we might wake up in the morning, and when you wake up in the morning, you're tired. You very rarely feel like going to the gym. You very rarely feel like doing an hour of meditation or prayer or writing in your journal. Motivation is the thing that pushes you through that. Motivation is the thing that helps you realize, you know what? I might feel like this now, but I want to achieve this thing. Therefore, I've got to push through this feeling. Therefore, I've got to get over this laziness. I've got to push through. So motivation can come in the form of a video where someone's inspiring. It can come in the form of a talk where someone hears you. It can come in the form of seeing something or a situation in your life that motivates you to overcome. So you might see that, your partner or your wife isn't doing that well. You might see that, the people around you in your community have a lack of ambition, and that can motivate you to do better. So it's an external source that pushes you to push through where you currently are and what you currently feel.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. There's a part of, like, I put a motivational quote up that it talks about motivation. I think it was a Jim Rohn quote, and I got a really good response about motivation that I would like to know your opinion on as well. It'd be interesting. So I think it was motivation is what gets you started, habits what keeps you going, and so it was almost like a change in, like, a different perspective on that motivation shouldn't get you going. But you kind of touched on that there, that it's about doing more than you actually feel like.
Yeah.
At that moment in time, because we can, like, I've seen a couple of your videos, and one of them was about excuses, and we can maybe use that we need more motivation to get started, and it was a very interesting conversation about it. So the idea that I think it was Richard Moore had about motivation was, it's about doing the task at hand that you want to do, regardless of your feelings and regardless of your current motivation. What is your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I like it. It's interesting because Zig Ziglar said something like, motivation is like bathing. You need to do it every single day. And I thought that was interesting because it's true. And motivation actually has a limit, because motivation is the thing that, I agree with Jim Rohn in saying that it's the thing that gets you started. It's the thing that pushes you over that hurdle of, I don't really feel like doing this today. I'm not in the right position today. It's the thing that pushes you through that excuse that you might be making. However, if you get enough motivation, that motivation turns into a habit. So that motivation to get up every single day 3 hours earlier than you need to be at the house, so you can work out, so you can plan your day, so you can do your writing, that becomes a habit when you do it over a period of time. So I definitely agree that motivation is a thing that can get you started, but it must become a habit. Actually, it almost automatically becomes a habit over a time if you get enough of it. Because if you're listening to the positive content, if you're listening to motivational content every day, that thing that you're listening to is now entering your subconscious mind. And so subconsciously, when you remove that motivational content, waking up early has become a habit. So regardless of whether you're listening to that content or not, you've heard it and now you know why you need to do it. And so there's a lot more to it than just motivation. And that's why I like to call it the transference of energy. Because if I say something that gets you to do something and it has an emotional change in you, therefore you have now gone from being, for example, a lazy person to not only being somebody who's proactive, but to feeling why you need to be proactive. And that's the thing that keeps you going. So when my video or my voice is no longer there, you've had that change subconsciously to keep going.
Yeah, and it's that idea of in your head, in those moments, that idea doesn't really leave your head once it's there. Even if it motivated you for maybe just an hour to get you started, there might be a day where you're not feeling that, but you can grab from that subconscious in those moments where it's hard and difficult.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And everything that we are doing is not. Sorry, go on.
We've got a couple of questions coming in there, if you can see them, Carol.
Oh, nice. One from Ben Azadi that says, what book are you currently reading or listening to? Nice question, man. I don't know if you saw my video that I did about the top 3 reasons why everyone needs to download Audible. Because, yeah, being able to get that content as much as you can. Ben, do you use Audible?
Yes, yeah. The podcast actually came from the back of Ben's Business Book Club.
Nice.
So I'm a massive audio and physical book reader, yeah.
Yeah, wicked. Yeah, I know you're massively into... I've seen your bookshelf in a couple of your pictures as well. Your bookshelf is epic. So I know you're massively into...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, massively.
It's a show thing, eh?
Yeah, great. But the book that I'm reading right now is called The E-Myth Revisited. So it's a book by Michael E. Gerber, and it's basically a book about how why a lot of small businesses and small entrepreneurs fail, because they have something called what he calls an entrepreneurial spasm, where basically you're really good at doing something. For example, you might be a really good cake baker, and all of a sudden you quit your job and say, I'm going to bake cakes for a living, I'm going to create a business. But you went from being a good cake baker to somebody who now needs to be a good cake baker, a good accountant, a good marketing rep, a good sales rep. All of these things go into running a business, and that's part of the reason why a lot of people fail, because they go into business thinking that being able to do videos or being able to bake cakes means they're going to be a great entrepreneur, when you need a whole bunch of skill sets to actually be a great entrepreneur. And so it talks about how you can develop those skill sets and become a better entrepreneur, essentially, and make sure that your business succeeds.
Yeah, that's a great book. I can recommend that as well. Michael E. Gerber, that's by The E-Myth.
Yeah, The E-Myth Revisited.
I would say one of the fundamental business books. If you go into business purely for passion, you're going to fail if you don't develop these business skills, because they're the platforms that it all falls back on. Almost like your subconscious that keeps you disciplined through those hard times. You need those pillars for business as well, although understand your whole business so that you're not just an expert at baking cakes. You also know how to do the accounts and things so that you can outsource them, not so you can actually do them.
Totally.
That's the breakdown of my... It's a really good book.
Totally, man.
And I've got another question: how do you avoid procrastination?
Say that again.
There was another question came in from Andrea about how do you avoid procrastination. I think she meant.
Wow. I love this topic. I love this topic because, one, I hate procrastination, but I hate it because I've suffered from it before. And so I think what's key is, and I actually did a talk the other day, and I said to people, if you show me what you've done for the past 7 days, hour by hour, I will show you where you're going in life. Because a lot of the time, success is actually predictable. Success isn't this crazy thing that, some people are destined for and some people aren't. You can predict success, by doing the right things. And so for me, I think the best way to tackle procrastination is actually to do with your schedule and to do with your routine. Because the master of your routine is how you master your day. So for example, I know that for me, I wake up at 5 a.m. every day. And when I wake up at 5 a.m., the three things that I want to make sure I get done before I actually get into the office and work is 1, writing in my journal, 2, praying and reading the Bible, and 3, doing some physical workout. Those are the 3 things that I know every single day before I leave my house I want to get done. And therefore, whenever I get into the office, I'm walking past people at 9 a.m. and they're drinking coffee, looking like they still want to be in bed, and I'm pumped and I'm ready to go. And so that energy keeps you going throughout the day. And when you've started your day with the energy to actually go on and smash your day, rather than just to walk in it and wander into the day, rather than and see what happens, that gives you the motivation to stop procrastinating and to see what you actually need to achieve in your life. So I think the master is actually in the routine. I don't think anyone is really, really special. So for example, I don't think I'm more special than Ben or I'm more special than Joe Blogs. I literally just think the person who's able to be honest with themselves and create a routine that allows them to be successful in the day-to-day task and get things done is the person who's actually going to master that idea of getting things done, master that success, get to a place where they're high performing on a daily basis.
Yeah, rather than one day a week, because that makes sense. That it's every single day it becomes a habit of having a successful day.
Yeah, totally. And I guess also just to add to that as well, and I've talked about it a lot, but your mind is literally like a garden. Your mind, like everything that you put in your mind, you're either growing a garden of beautiful flowers and kind of wonderful colors and wonderful smells, or you've got a garden that has been untended to and it's got loads of thorns and stinging nettles and nobody wants to go in there because the bushes are too high. And so you have a choice. Whatever seeds you're planting in your mind is what's going to create your life. So if you read the right books, take in the right content, listen to Ben's podcast, watch Carl's videos, read all of the business books that you need to read, then you're going to start growing a life and a mind that is beautiful and one that you're proud of. On the flip side, if you don't read those books, if you don't take care to think about what information you're taking in, then you'll still grow things in your garden. They just won't be the things that you want. You'll still grow things in your life. They just won't be the job that you want. It won't be the amount of money that you want. It won't be the right people that you want to be around. So the information that you consume is so key. I say to people that everything in this world is created twice. You know, once in your mind, second in reality. And Ben, you might have heard me say it in my videos, but like from the clothes that we're wearing to the desks that we're sitting in, someone had to think of it in their minds first before they can bring it to life. And that's why it's so important to guard your mind. When you have a why, when you have passions, when you realize how much you can actually impact the world, you stop procrastinating because you have so much you want to do. You have a fire, a burning inside of you. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying you're going to turn into some super saiyan human being. You're still human. You might make mistakes from once in a while. But the energy and enthusiasm that you have to achieve your goals and achieve your dreams gets fueled by being around the right people, gets fueled by asking yourself the right questions. What do I want to achieve? What type of person am I? What do I want my legacy to be? And a lot of people run away from those questions because they're actually difficult questions to answer. But again, the more correct information you're consuming, the more honest you can be with yourself, the more you're in touch with kind of the creator, the more likely you are to actually be able to answer those questions. And that fuels your passion to do whatever you need to do.
Yeah, 100% agree. You did mention your thoughts have to come first before the action, and that's a very big lesson that I learned it through the book Think and Grow Rich. Have you read that? Napoleon Hill.
I love that.
And that's exactly what that book is all about as well. So interesting how our subconscious kind of creates a reality eventually. I'm just going to see if there's any other questions come through, because there's a few questions coming. Thanks for everyone who's joined us just now. Ben, Patrick, Andrea, Chris. Any questions, send them in and we'll answer them.
Totally.
Thomas said that procrastination is not real. You just don't want it enough. What's your thoughts on? Yeah, so Can you see that one? Eric Thomas?
Yeah, I can see that one. I love that
Eric
question.
Thomas, sorry.
Are you into Eric Thomas as well, Ben?
What's that?
Are you into Eric Thomas as well?
Yeah, it's breaking up a wee bit, but yes, I follow him. He's a great motivational speaker like yourself.
Yeah, cheers, nice one, man. Yeah, E.T., the hip hop preacher. Patrick, thank you for that question. I like the way you define it. And if you actually, if we go back to what I was saying, it's actually quite in line in that procrastination disappears when you actually realize that you have a why, when you realize that you have a passion. But you can't realize that why and realize that passion without understanding how you create that and why you're here. And that's why the content of the books and the things that you're doing are so important, because the more you take stuff in and the more you hear stories. So for example, when you start hearing stories about people who are entrepreneurs and how they created their empire, and you start surrounding yourself with people who came from even communities just like you, but their goals and their ambitions are to do more and to achieve more, that makes you ask yourself the question, okay, what am I doing with my life? Going back to what I said, the story about when I failed my A-levels and I had that phone conversation with my friend, and he said to me he had done amazing in his A-levels, but it was the thing that made that conversation so powerful was we studied the same courses. We had the same schedule because we both played for the same football team. We both had weekend jobs in retail. So we had exactly the same schedule, and for 2 years, after that 2 years, I had produced a failure and he had passed with flying colours. And that was the first time that I realized, okay, cool. If we've got exactly the same time, exactly the same resources, there's something going wrong in here. And that's the reason why I'm producing a bad result and he's producing a good result. And that's when I said, okay, cool, it's down to hard work. So yeah, Eric Thomas is right. I didn't want it enough. And I didn't want it enough because I was walking around and I was being a zombie. I was more interested in girls and football than I was in my education, because I wasn't looking to the future to think about, okay, what impact do I want to have on this world? Who am I? And what am I actually here to do? And when I started to realize that, everything changed. And so, yeah, E.T. is definitely right. When you're procrastinating, it's because that thing is not connected to your why. That thing that you're doing is not connected to you actually being here and leaving a legacy. And you don't have enough hunger in your stomach. And that hunger is developed by asking yourself the right questions, putting yourself around the right people, and consuming the right content.
Yeah, it's that inner consuming the purpose, consuming the content, but then that you create that inner purpose for yourself. Yeah, and that has to come from within eventually, no matter how much content you're consuming, because you can get motivated and then you can fall back to that level of non-motivation if you've not got that inner purpose that pulls you through. Even with that subconscious, as we talked about, that motivates you in those bad moments, you'll probably still fall short if your purpose isn't strong enough, or your inner purpose. Totally,
man. There's got to be a why. There's got to be a reason behind what you do.
Yeah, and I can tell you've definitely got a reason. Really, there's a lot of questions I've got for you. It'd be interesting if anyone else has got any more questions. I'm quite enjoying the questions that people have been asking. I was going to ask you back on the topic of you talked about audiobooks. Like, what's your top? Like you mentioned, the Bible, is that one that you read every day?
Yeah, so the Bible is definitely a huge book for me. I'm to be fair, it hasn't been in the past, but I got baptized in February, so I'm kind of strong in my faith now, and so now the Bible is definitely a book that is a daily read for me.
Yeah, it's a daily routine. Is it something you're going to do for the long term? Is that just a habit you want to do, so you embed what's in the Bible into your habits?
That's definitely gonna be long term. I'll never forget when I was about 16 years old. I went over to one of my friend's house, and at the time we were talking about loads of different books that we were reading. So I think, for example, I was reading the 48 Laws of Power, but my friend had been delving into reading the Quran and the Torah as well as the Bible. And his mum said to him, "Listen, it's great that you guys read so many different books, but I can guarantee you that the best personal development book that you're ever gonna read is the Holy Bible." I remember at the time, I remember thinking to myself, wow, that's such an interesting thing to say I didn't take any notice of it. I disregarded it. And then over the years, as I've started to read the Bible more, I started to realize that a lot of the principles that are based in a lot of the personal development books that we really enjoy and that we get a lot from are actually in the Bible. they're in the Bible itself. It's just about being able to read it and to kind of decipher what comes out of it. So yeah, the Bible's a huge book that I'd recommend. There's so many great principles in there to learn from.
Yeah. I was going to ask you what's your your best personal development or self-help book, but I guess that's the answer, because I already agree with that, because I've noticed the same trend that a lot of it goes back to things that were taught in ancient times in the Bible and the older, what you call them, scriptures.
Yeah.
And we have extracted them into sort of common language in our new personal development books. Even philosophy is quite similar to that. Philosophy, which was more logical than the faithful like Bible, but there's so many lessons from these ancient books. So I 100% agree with that, and I found that interesting how that's one of, is that, the other question I have on top of that is actually, where does your knowledge come from that you share on these videos? Where's your best source of knowledge? Is it through experience, or is it through books, or is it through conferences? That's where we met, at a conference. So I know you attend conferences, I don't know how many. Maybe you're getting more from teaching now, because I've heard that teaching is actually a great way to learn for yourself, and I've realised that in some parts of my life. But I'd like to know what your best route of learning and gaining wisdom to share with others. Where does that come from?
Yeah, so that's a great question, and I particularly like that question because this is something that I've always wanted to share, and I've realised that there's a process to becoming somebody who can teach and who can share and who can train, and you go through different levels. So to begin with, a lot of my content, when I first started, for example, a lot of that content came from books. So I would read books and I'd hear great analogies, and I'd be able to spin them and create a concept or a video out of them, and that was great. But then as I started to develop as a speaker, I started to realize that I didn't want to just say things that I had read in a book. I wanted to say things that I was actually living. You know, that's not to say that the stuff that I was talking about in books I wasn't living, but I might have been talking about principles that I wasn't that familiar with. So as I started to grow as a speaker and a trainer, I actually started to talk more about personal experiences. And those will be personal experiences that I heard from my other people. Those are, so like someone might tell me a story about something that they went through, for example, and I'll talk about the lesson that I learned from it. And then now I'm in a place where all of the stuff that I'm talking about is personal experience. All of the stuff that I'm talking about is gathered from the things that I've been through and that I'm going through in life. And it's so inspiring just to watch that journey grow as a speaker. Don't get me wrong, I still get inspired from books. I still get inspired from other people. But a lot of the time, the messages that people engage with the most are the real, honest messages that they've been through. So, for example, when I did a TED talk and I talked about, the impact that my mum and my sister had on me growing up as a male, and how that helped me in regards to vulnerability and emotional intelligence, is something that a lot of people have been able to resonate with, whether they be mums, whether they be sisters, or whether they be young men. Or, talking about how my business, we went to the final of a pitching competition and we failed and we lost. And how we were able to step back and come back from that. People are always able to resonate with real stories, real things that you've been through. And I don't think you can reach the true level as a speaker, as a trainer, until you actually talk about things that you are doing and that you've done. So it's important to be able to teach it, but it's more important to be able to live it. Because being able to teach it is to do with your talent and your skill. You can be a great speaker, you can be a great communicator. That's to do with your talent and your skill. But being able to actually get people to feel something and get people to learn something is about your character. That's about who you are, how honest you are, how loyal you are, your integrity as a person. And as you grow as a speaker and your integrity and your honesty grows, and therefore that kind of results in your business growing and your life growing, that is the true level of speaker. Because you have to be careful. Sometimes I think E.T. said this as well, your talent can take you to places that your character can't keep you. And that's why a lot of the time you hear the quote, you know, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Because you can be really, really talented at something and get to a certain level, but to really honestly succeed and to stay at that pinnacle, that's about your character. That's about the person that you are. That's stopping fame getting to your head. That's not getting caught up in all the money. That's making decisions for the betterment of the people and not just to fast track your life and be selfish. And that's to do with character.
Yeah, that's very interesting. It's something I see in my own life, and I've heard something about that in one of my books about, I think it was a philosopher talking about what philosophers do, and they are scholars, they study a lot. And it was David Hume. There's actually two quotes from that kind of what you've said there that kind of are stuck in my mind. That in the midst of all your philosophizing, be a man. And then also someone mentioned that it's good to lock yourself. It's one way to lock yourself in a room and be a hermit and study books all day. But when your friends come round to see you, you should welcome them. And it's that idea that it's not just about staying in and you stay in a locked door and read a lot of books. You don't build your character that way. You have to go out to these conferences, like I've mentioned before, like where we met, and actually have that eyeball to eyeball with people. And that's how you build your character and have these challenges that even setbacks, you need setbacks to build character, and you need to overcome them eventually.
Totally.
So I 100% agree with that.
That's huge. Yeah, I think that's huge. And even for yourself, for example, even when you are teaching people how to grow their businesses online and how to increase their following and make more money online, it's great that you've read books and I'm sure you've done a whole bunch of research. But the fact that you're actually living it and doing it through your podcast, through your online engagement, is actually how people will truly see that you're someone who's an expert in their field, and that's when people will actually really kind of resonate with you and your story. And so I think that goes for everyone. You know, you don't get paid until you can teach it, and you can only teach it when you've been through it. So go through it and pull the lessons from it and be able to teach it to other people.
Yeah, you can't skip. You can't jump that step.
Nah, no way. You cannot. and that process is something that I'm in love with.
Pain and experience brings conviction and that storytelling, as you said, and feeling into your teaching and your storytelling.
Exactly that. They say in personal development speak, the definition of success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And I love that definition because the two key words that are in there are one, progressive, and two, worthy. It's the progressive realization. And so progressive just goes to show it takes time. You have to go through a process. You don't go from 0 to 100 so quickly because you missed out on 99 letters that you need to learn about, that you need to grow through, you know. Progressive, and it has to be worthy. It has to be something that you care about. So when something that you care about, you must have patience. Now, I once did a video that said that confidence and patience go hand in hand. If you're really confident about something, you won't rush it because you know you're going to get it. And if you're patient about something, it's because you are confident. It's because you know that eventually you will get there. And so, yeah, confidence and patience go hand in hand. Trust the process, man.
Yeah, patience is something I actually wanted to talk about, and that you nailed it there with that. So you need to have they go hand in hand, confidence and patience, because you're not going to be patient when you're not sure about the thing that's happening and taking too long. But Gary, I don't know if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a great example of a patient person who teaches patience.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm a big Gary Vaynerchuk.
It's like you see patience in people that, if you look at leaders, you look at successful people that have that confidence that everyone strives for. They tend not to be rushing, like you said. They walk slowly. If you just watch them, they walk slowly. That's a great example of it. They talk slowly. They're not in a rush to finish their sentence. They're not in a rush to get from here to there. They're taking that one step at a time, and I've noticed that since I learned that in books, that I've started to look at that in the real world, And you look at these people, and they really do. They move about more slowly because they don't feel the need to rush because they know where they're going, and they're probably more present. And I heard that in your TEDx talk, that leadership requires that sort of presence and patience as well.
Yeah,
I'd like you to elaborate on that part, the presence part.
Yeah. You can't. I think what happens is, you know, the human mind. They say that you have anywhere between 10 and 20,000 thoughts going through your mind every single day, and that's why sometimes you can be sitting down reading a book, and all of a sudden think to yourself, "Oh, I wonder what's for dinner later," or "I wonder what's going on my Instagram. Maybe I should log in." But you're supposed to be reading a book because your mind is constantly just trying to catch on to every single thought that goes through your mind. Presence and meditation is a great way to just say, you know what, forget everything that's going on in the world and in my mind. Let's focus on this one thing. Let's focus on this specific thing here, and bring my highest performance to this very thing. The reason why that's key for us as leaders, for business owners, and for all high performers is because in order to be able to do something well, you have to be there and be present in the moment. You know, it's even researched that, you know, multitasking, I think I did a video about this the other day, multitasking actually is scientifically proven to reduce the quality of the task that you are doing. And so that focus, that presence is so key. All high performers practice it, all athletes, everyone. You zone out of everything else that's going in your mind and you have that presence. But another reason why it's important is because you can't change what's happened in the past, and you can't impact what's going on in the future unless you are present in the right now. So for example, with my business, for example, I've been full-time for a year and 6 months or so. And what I realized is every day I wake up, if I worry about the past, if I'm anxious about the future, all it does is stop me from doing well today. All it does is make me procrastinate. All it does is stop me from making those calls that I need to make. All it does is prevent me from sending the emails that I need to make, recording the content that I need to make, going to the office on time. That doesn't help the future and doesn't change the past. The only way to impact your life and your success is to do the best you can right now, today, with what you have. If you are a business owner and you're working by yourself in your bedroom, do that to the best of your ability. If you're a business owner and there's 100 staff members and you're having some problems and some worries, go into work today, like today is your last day. Do the best you can with today, because that's the only way that you can get better. That's the only way to impact it. You can't impact it by worrying about the past and what happened before and always talking about the past. Because we always meet those people that, for example, they had a relationship that went wrong, and every time you talk to them, they're still talking about that relationship that happened 3-4 years ago. Or we meet those people who really want something, but they're only ever talking about, if I start it, what if this goes wrong? If I start it, what if no one buys my product? What if that happens? Those type of people are killing themselves. The only people that reach success and that do well in life are the people that are concerned with, this is what I plan to do in the future, but this is what I'm doing today. And I'm going to do today to the best of my ability. Take it one step at a time. That's all. And that presence is one that all leaders, all high performers, everyone needs in their life. And it brings you peace. The more peace you have, the more likely you are to do well and to live in your purpose.
Yeah, you nailed it. You did mention a bit that you can't impact the future if you're not present right now. I would like to add on to that maybe we can impact the future, but not in the way that we want if we're not spending the quality time in this moment. Would you agree with that part?
Yeah,
if that makes
sense.
No, so like
I agree.
What we're doing right now is impacting the future no matter what. Yeah. But the idea of being present all in is that quality presence to make a better future, because if you're in the present moment thinking about the future, you're not having that quality impact that you're wanting to make for the future. So we can be one place or the other. We can be 50-50, but we're not having that quality presence. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that. The only way to impact the future is to do well in the present. Yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to add that because it was something that came to my head, and it's I've been listening to a lot of Eckhart Tolle on audiobook just now, and
Yeah,
he's a great teacher of that present. Sorry?
I said The Power of Now is a great book.
The Power of Now, yeah. Power of Now and A New Earth, which is the current one I'm on to, the second one, is really powerful. Probably a step beyond The Power of Now, but I think The Power of Now is one you have to grasp first. It's very life changing, put it that way.
Yeah, totally. There's a few kind of staples in terms of books that I've read that I think will be good to share because they'll probably align with some of the ones that you've read.
Yeah, that was.
And you can do the same. But
yeah,
The Power of Now is definitely one of them. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. I think that's a great book. That's a book that I actually base a lot of my principles on, and you hear some great content. But it basically just talks about how whatever type of success you want to achieve, big massive success, is only ever achieved by making small habitual impacts over a long period of time. And so it uses the analogy of compound interest and about how when you use the kind of the idea of compound interest over time, you create massive success. So The Slight Edge is definitely a book I'd recommend. You mentioned
what was that called, Carl?
The Slight Edge, Jeff Olson.
Sorry, what was the title? By Jeff Austin, did you say?
It's by Jeff Olson. So Jeff, Jeff, and Olson is Olson. And the title is The Slight Edge.
Okay.
Yeah,
that sounds interesting.
That one. I'd also recommend, so we mentioned Think and Grow Rich, we mentioned The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. That's a great book as well. There's so many, man. I could just go on and on and on. Actually, I wrote a reading list.
Battle through. So, we're in a book club right now, so don't worry.
Oh, okay, cool, brilliant. But I can share the reading list with you afterwards. The Maverick Mindset.
If you've got a link, I can share.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, I'll share that. Another good book that I read is called The Maverick Mindset. The Maverick Mindset. Yeah. Yeah, The Maverick Mindset is another great book, man. But just go out there and just feed yourself on all of that content and that information. And what was interesting the last time, so when I did a video about Audible, it forced me to do the reading list. And I remember looking down the list and thinking to myself, wow, that's a lot of books that I've read. How much of those books have I actually used to implement into my life and make the correct changes? And so I think there's a really important ask that we have of ourselves to almost go back and analyze how many of the books that we've read and actually implemented changes into our lives. And so for me, a lot of them, I said, I've taken the content in, but I think there's a level up that I can go into actually making sure that I put that content into practice. And so whether that comes through reading the book over again, whether that comes from just doing going to the actions page and looking through your notes, but just making sure you're actually inputting that information into your life and making the changes that you need to.
Yeah, do what the books tell you to do.
Yeah,
if it's good advice.
Yeah, there's even a Bible scripture that says, I think it's James 1 verse 22, and it says, don't just listen to the word, do what it says, like put it into practice. There's no point of just taking this information in and not actually using
it. Yeah, that's good advice. Probably, I think we went over our 40 minutes anyway, but I think that's all we've got time for. Any more questions, put them in the replay and we'll try and get them answered either way. I'm sure Carol will happily do an Instagram video to answer the following questions. That'll give you more fuel and content ideas.
Yeah, totally.
So I'll be up. Thanks a lot for coming online and sharing that with my community, and hopefully your community will get some great value from this as well.
Awesome.
The podcast will be up on iTunes. Yeah, no problem. The podcast will be up on iTunes and SoundCloud and all the rest of them within the next week, so you can share that with everyone. with your community. And
awesome.
anyone has any more questions, or also please share this video with anyone you think should hear this as well, because there's lots of great advice in it, and it's just to make sure we're spreading both of our advice and your wisdom, because I think I've learned so much from you over the years, and I really appreciate what you do. So that's why I wanted to hopefully thank you, as well as learn more from you by bringing you on here and letting my community hear what you have to say, because I think you've got some great wisdom up there.
Ben, I really, really appreciate it, man. I love what you're doing, honestly, man. The consistency with the work, keep it up, keep building. And I love that you're building a community as well on knowledge. You know, knowledge is really, really powerful. So thank you for having me on. Yeah, like Ben said, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Keep engaged. Yeah, if anyone wants to kind of follow me on Instagram or Twitter or Snapchat, it's just type in my name, Carl Konadu, or my handle is CKKONADU, so CK Konadu. And yeah, happy to kind of stay in touch. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Thanks everyone
All right.
for coming on.
Yeah. Amen.